Hello everyone, welcome to Scholars. Today we are going to discuss about a topic of class 10's history called Age of Industrialization. So Age of Industrialization, here we can break down the chapter into proto-industrialization and post-industrialization, like when industrialization was booming or factories were set up. So here in proto-industrialization we have the topics like what is proto-industrialization, the merchants of proto-industrialization, or who started or how the proto-industrial system was working, then mode of function, how the function means the merchants, the peasants, how they were interacting with each other, these kind of things, and the condition of peasants, like the merchants, how they were interacting with the peasants and what was their household condition, how they were thriving in the proto-industrial period. All these things we will discuss today in this video. Now, what is proto-industrialization? Like, what is industrialization? Industrialization is the situation where the whole society is dependent on big and large factories, where the labor is working in the factories under certain leadership, and there is an organized system of work. But proto-industrialization began when there was no established factory system. Okay, the history of industrialization began with the growth of factories. Now, before factories began to flourish in the English landscape, because here we are generally discussing about England and other European countries, and basically class 10 CBSE is based on England and the society of England and its impact on the colonies like India. Okay, our history of class 10 is based basically on the condition of our colonizers and the colonies of India. So, before factories began to flourish in English and other European landscapes, there was already large-scale industrial products for the international market that was not based on factories. Okay, because many things were being exported, many things our country imported, but those things were not based on a particular factory that was established during that period. Now, we are going to discuss about the merchants of proto-industrial period. In the 17th and 18th century, merchants from the towns of Europe began to move across the countryside to supply money to the peasants and artisans and persuading them to produce for the international market, because at that time Europe was a big colonizing power, because they were moving to different parts of the world, exploring different areas like the Americas, in India, various Asian countries, in Africa, South America. So all these places where they colonized, they were trying to spread their culture, their clothing. Okay, and there were many inhabitants getting settled there in the colonies. So there was increasing demand of the European or especially English products to be exported to all those places. So there was a big and beaming economy that could thrive upon the export of industrial things from England. Now, merchants couldn't expand within towns due to the presence of guilds. Okay, and these guilds were really powerful associations that trained producers and craftspeople and maintained control over the production, regulated competition and prices, and also restricted them for entry into restricted various other merchants or any other competing bodies from entering into competition in the towns. So that is the reason the merchants were moving to countrysides and providing the artisans, peasants and craftsmen from those areas with money to work for them. Now, the mode of function by which the merchant and peasant interaction was working in the proto-industrial economy. The merchants were based in towns, but the work was done in the countryside. Okay, a merchant clothier in England would purchase wool from a wool stapler, then it took it to spinners, and the yarn was spun and was taken to subsequent stages of production to the weavers, fullers, and then finally to the dryers. And the finishing was done in London and sent to the international market and exported from London to the international market. And London was basically known as the finishing place, okay, before getting transported, because London was the best connected route for England to the outside world. The condition of peasants. Okay, the poor peasants and artisans began working for the merchants, and that was an added benefit because at that time the land was slowly getting occupied and open cultivable land was getting reduced. Many had tiny plots that didn't provide income for all family members. So when merchants came with the offer to produce goods for them, they eagerly agreed. By working for the merchants, they could remain in their land, cultivate small plots with income from the proto-industrial production that supplemented their shrinking income from cultivation, that also helped them for fuller usage of their family labor. Okay, because earlier if they used to they had to cultivate in a land, an old granny in their house, she could not contribute to that. But now if they had to spin a wheel, everyone in the family could do that. Okay, so everyone of the family was getting optimum usage of its family members, and also their production was also increasing, and also they were getting money from the merchants that could compensate their reducing economy from the fields. Now, each merchant employed 20 to 25 workers. Thus, each clothier was controlling hundreds of workers without any setup or factories. Now, from this, you can see that a proto-industrial economy was really thriving and working. But with the advent and invention of machineries like the steam engine and all that, the factories slowly began to set up. Factories started evolving, but it was not like that everyone of the family or everyone was moving into the towns for working in the factories and all that. So proto-industrial situation or the proto-industrial period was really important part of the starting of age of industrialization, because the setting up of a particular factory or setting up of factories in whole of Europe, that actually demarcated the area where industrialization started. Okay. So this was the first part of our history lesson that covered the proto-industrial period. In future, we will also be discussing about the industrial age and different parts of the chapter. So basically, you get few important questions here, like what is proto-industrialization, the merchants of proto-industrial production, how were the merchants working, and how was their condition at that time. Also, the mode of function, like how a peasant and merchant interaction was going on, and the conditions of peasants, how they were thriving in the proto-industrial period. Okay, so if you like the video, please like, share and subscribe our Scholars channel, and hope to see you soon with a new lesson in the second part. Thank you.